Stranded in the wasteland, the alien child clutched her toy and begged, "Help us, human." The night was cold and empty. A soft blue glow covered the metal city, making every tall building shine like ice. Snowflakes drifted slowly through the air, settling on the silent streets. The whole place looked peaceful, but something felt wrong, like the city was holding its breath. Near a quiet corner, a small alien girl sat on the frozen ground. Her skin was light green, her eyes huge and full of fear. She hugged a tiny broken machine to her chest, a little metal creature that blinked weak, fading red lights. Her clothes were thin and torn, covered with frost. Her tiny body shook every time the wind touched her. Beside her, her mother lay on the icy pavement. The woman's breathing was shallow, her skin losing color. She was unconscious, too weak to move. Snow gathered in her hair. The girl leaned close and shook her gently. "Mom, please wake up," she whispered. Her voice was so soft the wind almost carried it away. "Nothing." The girl wiped her tears and looked around. The city was strange, full of strange lights and unfamiliar sounds. Machines hummed in the distance. But the streets were empty. No one came. No one even looked down from the windows above. She hugged the broken toy tighter and whispered, "Someone, please help." Far down the street, footsteps appeared. A human walked alone, a tall man with a heavy coat and a small bag on his back. He slowed down when he saw something small sitting on the ground. At first, he thought it was a lost child. But as he walked closer, he froze. Green skin, large eyes, a trembling little body. An alien child. The man had never seen one so close. His heart beat faster, unsure if he should go near or keep his distance. But the girl looked at him with such desperate hope that he couldn't walk away. The child lifted the broken machine with shaking hands. "Human, can you fix this?" she asked in a tiny voice. Mom dropped it, and now she will not wake up. The man looked at her mother. The woman looked half frozen, barely breathing. The child's fear was real. Her trust was real too. He knelt down slowly. "It's broken?" he asked gently. The girl nodded quickly. "Please fix it. If it works, Mom will be okay." Her voice broke. She glanced at her mother, then back at him. The man took the strange device. It felt cold and foreign. Wires stuck out, lights blinked weakly, and nothing about it looked familiar. But he saw the girl watching him with such fragile hope that he knew he had to try. He opened his bag and pulled out simple tools, nothing meant for alien technology, but better than nothing. Then, footsteps echoed from the darkness. The man stiffened. The girl grabbed his sleeve tightly. Shadows moved between the tall buildings. Something, or someone, was watching them. Danger. Real danger. The man stepped slightly in front of the girl, shielding her. "Stay close," he whispered. "I'll try to fix this." The girl nodded and pressed against him, trembling. The shadows crept closer. The wind grew colder. The man bent over the broken machine, sparks flickering as he worked. The little alien girl held her breath, clutching her mother's jacket. The night was no longer quiet. The danger was no longer far. And the human knew one thing. He could not leave this child. Not tonight. Not ever. Shadows stretched across the frozen street as the man worked on the strange little device. His fingers moved fast, even though nothing about the alien machine made sense. Tiny sparks jumped from loose wires. The girl flinched at every sound but never looked away. She held her mother's hand tightly, whispering, "Please, hold on, Mom." The man kept glancing toward the distant shapes. The dark figures were moving slowly but confidently, like hunters who already knew their prey had nowhere to run. Their footsteps echoed softly, steady and controlled. They were getting closer. "Who are they?" the man whispered. The girl's lips trembled. "Bad people. They want the device." Mom said, "If they get it, it will be dangerous. For everyone." The man felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air. He looked down at the toy again. It was small, but there was something alive about it. Its faint lights flickered like a heartbeat, as if the device was waiting for something. The girl tugged on his sleeve. "Please fix it. It can save us." But Mom couldn't make it work. He nodded, determined. "I'll try." He had repaired many machines in his life, but never one built by another species. Still, the child's trust pushed him forward. He held a tiny wire with pliers and adjusted it carefully. A soft hum vibrated through the device. The girl gasped. "It's responding." The man didn't answer. He was staring at the shadows again. The figures had stepped into the open now, tall, wrapped in dark armor-like suits. Their eyes glowed faintly under their helmets, casting eerie reflections on the icy ground. They were not city guards. They were something worse. One of them raised a hand and pointed toward the group. The man felt the girl's grip tighten around his arm. Her entire body trembled. "They can't take it," she whispered. "Mom said it must not go to them." The man crouched lower, placing himself between the girl and the advancing shadows. He held the half-fixed device close to his chest. "I won't let them hurt you," he said. The girl looked up at him with wide eyes, full of trust and fear. "You're the only one who stopped to help us." Those words stirred something inside him. A stranger, a human, helping an alien child he had never seen before. Yet he felt responsible, more than responsible. He felt protective. He worked faster. The device buzzed and blinked brighter. The energy inside it began to stabilize. Then, a loud metallic sound cracked the silence. One of the armored figures struck the ground with a heavy staff-like weapon. A pulse of cold air rushed forward, pushing loose snow across the pavement. The man froze. The girl whimpered. "They're warning us. They're coming now." The man grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her close. "We need to move." "But Mom," she cried. He lifted the unconscious woman gently over his shoulder. She was light, too light, and her breath was shallow. The device hummed louder as if reacting to the danger. The shadows advanced quickly now. The man whispered urgently, "Lead me. Take me somewhere safe. Anywhere." The girl nodded with shaky determination and pointed toward a narrow path between two metal buildings. "That way. Hurry." They began running. Snow crunched under their boots. Frosty air burned in their lungs. The girl guided him through tiny gaps, hidden alleys, and narrow walkways she seemed to know by instinct. Behind them, the armored figures followed with sharp precision. Their steps were fast, but disturbingly quiet. They moved like predators tracking wounded prey. Every turn felt dangerous. Every corner felt like a trap. "Keep going," the man said breathlessly. They climbed over a low barrier, ducked under a flickering neon sign, and slipped through a tight passage. The girl moved with surprising speed for her small size, driven by pure fear. When they reached a wider street, the man set the mother down gently and checked her pulse. It was weak, but still there. He turned to the girl. "We need to hide. Somewhere they won't find us." The girl pointed to a cluster of stacked crates. "There's a small door behind them. Mom showed it to me once." The man didn't hesitate. He lifted the mother again and followed the girl to the crates. Behind them was a small metallic door, almost invisible in the darkness. The girl pressed a tiny panel beside it. A soft chime echoed. The door slid open. Warm air rushed out. The man stared in disbelief. A hidden sanctuary, and maybe their only chance. "Go inside," he said. Quickly, the girl slipped in first. The man carried the mother in behind her. Just as the door closed, the shadows arrived at the street. Silent, searching, and very, very close. The hidden door sealed behind them with a soft metallic click. For a moment, everything went quiet. The cold wind and distant machines faded away, replaced by a warm, almost gentle air that filled the small sanctuary. The man lowered the alien mother onto a soft mat. The ground here was covered with thick woven material that held warmth. Strange glowing plants lined the walls, giving the room a soft green light. Their gentle hum made the space feel alive. The little alien girl knelt beside her mother. "Mom, we're inside. You're safe," she whispered, brushing frost from her hair. The mother opened her eyes for a brief moment. Her voice was weak, shaking. She murmured something in her language, 2 short words full of worry. The girl turned to the man. She said, "Hurry." The man nodded. He pulled the half-fixed device from his bag and placed it on a low wooden table. Its lights flickered weakly, like a heartbeat slowly returning. He studied it closely. The circuits looked more complex here, under the warm light. Tiny crystals inside shifted softly, glowing with faint colors. Whatever this thing was, it was no ordinary toy. The girl joined him, pointing at the glowing parts. "Mom said this can send a signal. A strong one. But only if someone fixes it right." The man picked up a small tool, adjusting a thin silver wire. "And what happens if the wrong people get it?" The girl lowered her head. "They can use it to find people like us. Or hurt them." Her voice cracked. "That's why they chased us." The man felt a surge of anger, quiet, steady anger. This child had been hunted through the freezing streets for something she barely understood. And he, a simple traveler, had stepped right into the middle of it. But he wasn't leaving. Not now. He leaned closer to the device. Show me what your mom tried to fix. The girl touched a small crystal on the side. This part. She said it works like a voice. But it can't speak unless the wires are right. He carefully adjusted a wire, watching the crystal pulse brighter. The device hummed, reacting to his touch. The girl gasped softly. It's waking up, she whispered. He nodded. Almost there. But then, a faint scraping noise. It came from outside the sanctuary walls. A metallic drag, slow and deliberate. The man froze. The girl's eyes widened. They found us, she whispered. The man grabbed the device and lowered his voice. Are there other exits? The girl nodded quickly. She pointed to a narrow passage at the back of the room. There's a tunnel. Mom showed me once. It's small, but it leads to another safe place. He lifted the mother again. She was still weak, barely conscious. Lead me. The girl hurried toward the passage. It was tiny, just enough space for a child to walk without crouching. The man had to bend low, carrying the woman carefully to avoid hitting her head. Behind them, the scraping grew louder. Even the warm air in the sanctuary felt colder now. The tunnel stretched deeper than he expected, winding through dim corridors filled with roots of glowing plants. The girl moved quickly, guiding him through sharp turns and tight spaces. How do you know all these paths? He whispered. Mom showed me, she answered softly. She said, if anything bad happens, I must run here. The man felt her fear, but he also saw her courage. She was just a child, yet she moved like someone who understood danger far too well. They reached a small chamber at the end of the tunnel. The walls were covered in symbols painted with glowing ink. A round metallic door sat at the far end, sealed tight. The girl touched the center of it. It glowed faint blue. It only opens when the device is awake, she said. The man set the mother down gently, then placed the half-fixed device near the door. Its lights flickered in response. Another scraping sound echoed from the tunnel behind them. Closer. Too close. Hurry. The girl whispered, voice shaking. The man's hands moved faster now. He connected the final wire, tightened a screw, and pressed the glowing crystal. The device vibrated sharply. Lights pulsed. The air hummed. The metallic door glowed brighter, reacting to the signal. A ring of symbols lit up one by one, forming a moving pattern. The girl held her breath. Then, click, the door unlocked. A cold gust of air slipped through the opening. The girl grabbed her mother's arm. We can go through. It's open. But before the man could lift her, a deep metallic thud echoed from the tunnel behind them. The shadows had reached the sanctuary, and now they were coming into the tunnel. The man grabbed the mother, the girl held the device, and together they stepped through the door, just as the first shadow entered the passage. The metal door slid shut behind them with a heavy thump, sealing the tunnel and cutting off the last bit of warm light. For a few seconds, everything went dark. Only the girl's small breaths and the man's quiet steps echoed in the narrow passage. Then the device in the girl's hands blinked softly, its faint blue glow lighting the path ahead. The man adjusted the unconscious mother on his shoulder. She was colder now, but her faint breathing told him she still held on. Keep the light steady, he whispered. The girl nodded and held the glowing device close to her chest, its warm hum giving her some comfort. This way, she said, pointing forward. They walked through a long corridor that felt older than the city above. The walls were made of smooth stone, marked with glowing patterns that looked like maps or warnings. The air here was warmer, but heavy, as if no one had walked through this place in years. The man stayed alert, listening for any sound behind them. He could still feel the danger pressing from the other side of the sealed door. Those shadow creatures, whoever they were, would not stop. They would find a way through, and they would come fast. Finally, the tunnel widened into a larger chamber. The ceiling curved high above them, lit with vines that pulsed with dim golden light. Old crates and broken tools lay scattered across the floor. In the center was something unexpected. A small platform made of metal and stone, shaped like a circle with glowing symbols around the edge. The girl ran to it. Mom brought me here once, she said. She said this place can protect us if the device wakes fully. The man set her mother down beside the platform. Tell me what to do, he said. The girl held up the device. Its lights were brighter now, but still flickering. Mom said it needs one more connection. A power crystal. But she never found one. The man frowned. What does it look like? The girl pointed to an empty slot inside the device. Like a small blue stone. It gives energy. Without it, the signal is weak. The man scanned the room. Broken tools, old crates, dusty machines, but no crystals. We have to find something, he said. Before they could search, a sudden loud impact vibrated through the walls. The girl froze. They're breaking the door. The man's jaw tightened. We don't have much time. He dropped to his knees and opened a crate. Nothing but old cloths. He checked another, empty wires. Another, rusted metal pieces. Nothing useful. The girl began searching too. Her small hands dug through piles of broken parts. Old wires, dusty panels. They're coming, she whispered again, voice trembling. The man moved to one last crate in the corner. It was half buried under rubble. He pulled at it, metal scraping loudly. Inside were strange objects, shards of crystal, old pieces of alien glass, broken tools. But at the very bottom, a single glowing blue stone. Small, perfectly round, still alive with light. He grabbed it. The girl gasped. That's it. That's the power crystal. But then, a violent crash echoed behind them. The metal door far back in the tunnels groaned. A second crash, then a roar of sparks. The shadows had forced their way inside. They are here, the girl whispered, gripping the device like a lifeline. The man rushed back to the platform. He placed the crystal in the device's empty slot. A flash of light burst through it. Symbols on the platform lit up one by one. The device hummed, loud, strong, alive. The mother opened her eyes faintly and whispered in her language, weak but urgent. The girl translated softly. She says, the signal will protect us. But the chamber suddenly shook. Heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnel. The shadows were close, too close. Come on, the man said. Finish activating it. The girl pressed her hand against the device. It responded instantly. A deep, powerful vibration filled the chamber. The platform glowed brighter, forming a circle of light around them. The mother weakly lifted her hand toward the girl. The man held her steady. The tunnel behind them lit up with red sparks. The shadows entered the chamber. Tall, armored, eyes glowing like cold fire. One of them raised their weapon, gripping it tightly. Another took a step forward. The girl cried out, "Please, turn on quickly." The platform pulsed again, faster now. The man stood tall in front of the girl and her mother, ready to fight with nothing but his fists and a broken wrench he grabbed from the floor. The girl hugged the device. The mother whispered weakly. And then, the platform exploded with light. A dome of blue energy shot upward, surrounding the three of them. The shadows struck the barrier, but their weapons bounced off with violent sparks. The girl gasped. It's working. The man stared in awe as the glowing shield wrapped them in safety. The shadows outside hissed, slamming their weapons again and again, but the barrier held strong. For the first time that night, they were safe, but only for now. What the device had awakened was powerful, yet it had drawn attention, and more enemies were coming. The blue barrier shimmered like liquid light around them, humming with steady power. Outside it, the shadow creatures circled the chamber, their glowing eyes fixed on the trio inside. They slammed their weapons into the shield again and again, sending sparks across the room. Each strike made the walls tremble, but the barrier did not break. The little alien girl held the active device close to her chest. Its soft, pulsing glow reflected in her large eyes. It's strong, she whispered. Stronger than before. The man stayed in front of her and her mother, watching the attackers carefully. The barrier protected them, but he could feel its vibrations. It wasn't meant to last forever. They won't stop, he said quietly. They're waiting for us to run out of time. The girl nodded, her tiny fingers gripping the device tightly. Mom said, the barrier is only a shield, not an escape. The mother, weak but awake, lifted her hand. She whispered a few short phrases in her language, voice trembling. The girl listened carefully and translated. She says, we must follow the barrier's path. It shows the way forward. The man frowned. Away where? The girl touched the glowing platform. The symbols shifted, forming a pattern of moving lights. The platform hummed, and a thin line of blue energy stretched from the circle toward a small opening on the far side of the chamber, a narrow passage almost hidden behind tangled vines. The man's eyes widened. A tunnel. Another exit. The girl nodded. It only appears when the device is awake. Outside the barrier, one of the shadows struck with a heavy weapon. A small ripple wavered across the shield. The girl gasped. It's weakening. The man took a deep breath. We move now. He lifted the mother into his arms, though she was lighter than before, too light. The girl ran beside him, clutching the device, which shone even brighter as the barrier guided their way. When they stepped off the platform, the dome of energy followed them, shrinking to keep tight around their bodies. The tunnel walls glowed ahead, lighting a path as if the sanctuary itself wanted them to survive. The shadows saw them moving. A loud metallic shriek filled the chamber as the creatures launched themselves at the barrier, striking faster, harder, desperate to break through. The man didn't look back. Run, he shouted. The girl ran beside him, trying to match his long steps. The barrier flickered with each hit behind them, but kept pace as they entered the narrow tunnel. The passage twisted sharply downward. The floor sloped, forcing them to move faster. The air grew warmer, vibrating with the device's energy. The tunnel lit up with moving symbols, guiding them deeper. The girl spoke between breaths. Mom said, "This path leads to the old chambers. Safe places, very far from the bad people." "But why do they want the device?" the man asked. The girl's voice softened. "Because it can call others, helpers, from far away. People who protect us. The shadows don't want that." The man understood. This wasn't just about a broken toy. This device was a beacon, a call for help, a hope. The tunnel suddenly opened into a wide cavern. A deep underground lake glowed with soft white light. Strange crystals grew along the walls like stars embedded in stone. The place felt ancient, older than the city above. The barrier flickered again. The man set the mother down gently. She blinked weakly, whispering something faint. The girl listened, tears filling her eyes. "She says, the lake will hide us. The shadows cannot step inside." The man looked at the water. It shimmered unnaturally, like liquid light instead of water. He helped the girl walk to the edge. "How do we cross it?" The device in her hands began humming in a new rhythm. A long blue beam shot from it, touching the lake's surface. Slowly, a path of glowing tiles formed across the water. The girl gasped. "It's making a bridge." The man lifted the mother again. "Stay close to me." They stepped onto the glowing walkway. The moment they did, the barrier behind them trembled violently, then shattered with a thunderous crack. The shadows had reached the cavern. Their eyes glowed brighter. Their steps echoed through the cave. The man moved faster across the bridge, holding the mother tight. The girl stayed close, breathing hard, clutching the device. Halfway across the lake, a shadow creature stepped onto the cave floor behind them. Its voice echoed, cold and sharp. "Return the beacon." The girl froze, shaking. "They know what it is." The man didn't stop. "Keep moving." The shadow creature stepped forward and stopped. The lake glowed brighter, pushing it back. The creature hissed, unable to cross. The girl took a shaky breath. "They can't touch the lake. It protects us." The man reached the other side and carried the mother onto a flat stone platform. The girl stepped off the glowing bridge just as the walkway faded behind them, disappearing into light. The shadows watched from afar, unable to follow. The girl held the device tightly and whispered, "We made it, but they will find another way. They always do." The man looked at the ancient cavern, filled with glowing crystal towers and hidden paths. "We'll be ready," he said. But deep in the shadows of the cavern, something else stirred. Something not enemy, but not human either. And the device vibrated softly, as if answering a call they could not yet hear. The cavern grew quieter as the glowing bridge vanished behind them. The man gently laid the alien mother on a smooth stone surface, while the little girl held the device close, as if it were part of her heartbeat. The underground air felt warm, filled with the soft, shimmering glow of crystal towers that stood like silent guardians. The man listened carefully. The shadows were still at the far end of the cavern, trapped behind the lake, unable to cross. But their angry hisses echoed across the water. "They're waiting," the man whispered. "They want us to come back out." The girl shook her head. "We can't. If they get the beacon," her voice wavered, "they will find everyone who is hiding." The man crouched beside her, trying to steady her shaking hands. "You're safe here, I promise." But as he spoke, a low humming sound filled the cavern. Gentle, steady, not threatening. The crystals along the walls began to brighten as if reacting to the beacon's presence. The girl looked around in awe. "It's waking the old place." A soft wind blew through the cavern, though there was no clear source. The crystals flickered, and faint whispers seemed to echo through the cavern, voices so distant they felt like memories. The mother stirred suddenly, her eyes half open. She tried to sit up, but fell back weakly. The girl rushed to her side, holding her hand. "Mom, we're safe. The lake protected us." The woman whispered a faint word, breath thin. The girl nodded slowly. "She says someone is coming." The man frowned. "Someone? Who?" Before the girl could answer, the cavern floor trembled slightly. Dust drifted from the ceiling. A hidden section of the rock wall began to shift, sliding open with a deep rumbling sound. Inside the glowing gap stood figures, tall, robed, their outlines gentle and almost transparent under the crystal light. Their eyes glowed softly, not with anger, but with ancient calm. The girl gasped. "The keepers." The man stepped in front of the girl and her mother without thinking, shielding them with his body. "Who are they?" The girl tugged on his sleeve. "They protect this place. Mom told me stories. They guard the old signals. They're not like the shadows." One of the robed figures stepped forward. Its voice was soft, almost like wind moving through leaves. "You carry the beacon." "Why?" The man spoke cautiously. "It was broken. The girl asked me to fix it. We're just trying to survive." The keeper studied the little girl. "Child, this beacon was never meant for your hands." The girl held it tightly. "Mom found it, and the shadows chased us. We didn't want this, we just wanted help." The keepers whispered to each other in a soft, musical language. The cavern lights responded, growing brighter. Finally, the lead keeper turned toward the man. "Human, you repaired a device, even we guard carefully. How did you touch it without harm?" The man shrugged lightly. "She needed help. That's enough reason." The keepers fell silent. The girl's mother whispered again, her voice thin but urgent. The girl translated, tears gathering in her eyes. "She says, the beacon must call the Watchers. They will protect everyone. But the shadow creatures want to stop it." The lead keeper lifted a slender hand. "The beacon does more than call. It reveals. If the wrong ones take it, they will see all our hidden sanctuaries, all our families." The man stepped forward. "Then teach me how to finish activating it. Tell me what to do." The keepers looked at him, surprised. "You would risk yourself for them?" one asked. The man nodded. "That's what humans do." The cavern pulsed with light. The lead keeper approached the beacon. "The device needs its final sequence. Only a living being who acts without selfishness can unlock it. One heart must link to it." The girl turned pale. "What does that mean?" The keeper's voice softened. "The beacon must choose a protector. It needs to connect to someone strong in will. Someone who won't break, no matter what is shown." The man felt a strange weight settle inside his chest. "You mean me?" The keeper nodded. "You carried them through danger. You fought without knowing what you held. You fixed the beacon with no training. Yes, it has already started choosing you." The girl grabbed his sleeve tightly. "Wait, if it chooses you, will it hurt you?" The keeper hesitated. "It will show you everything. Every danger, every shadow, every hidden place. Your mind must endure it." The man took a deep breath. Fear tugged at him, but the girl's eyes pulled him stronger. Her mother's trust, their hope, all of it rested on him now. He held out his hand. "Tell me what to do." The keeper placed the glowing beacon into his palm. It pulsed like a heartbeat. The cavern dimmed. The crystals shook. The shadows hissed across the lake. The beacon hummed louder. Awakening, choosing, binding. And deep inside the man's mind, something started to open. Something powerful. Something dangerous. Something that would decide all their fates. The moment the beacon touched the man's palm, the cavern seemed to stop breathing. A sharp whisper of energy rushed through the air. The crystals flickered. The lake rippled even without wind. The little girl held her breath, clutching her mother as light spread across the cavern floor like a rising tide. The man gasped softly. The beacon was warm, too warm. It pulsed against his skin like a living heart, each beat stronger than the last. A soft blue glow climbed up his arm, covering it in a thin web of light. The keeper stepped back. "It begins," the lead keeper whispered. The man staggered. Images burst inside his mind. Flashes of unknown places, distant stars, old battles, hidden tunnels, frightened families hiding under glowing roots. He saw the shadow creatures hunting again and again, their cold eyes searching for the beacon's power. He clenched his jaw. I can handle it," he said through shallow breaths. The keeper's robes rustled softly in the glowing breeze. Stay firm, human. If you break, the beacon will break with you. The girl stepped closer, tears in her eyes. Please don't stop. You promised to help us. Her tiny voice cut through the noise in his mind. His breath steadied. His hands tightened around the beacon. I'm not stopping, he said. Not now. The beacon flared. A ring of light expanded from his body, spreading across the cavern like a shockwave. The crystals brightened. The walls glowed. Even the shadows across the lake recoiled, stepping back with sharp hisses. The girl gasped. It's calling someone. The man felt it too, a distant presence, far away but growing stronger. A presence that answered the beacon's signal. The keepers bowed their heads. The watchers are hearing it. The old protectors. From across the lake, the shadow creatures began pounding the cavern walls, desperate to reach them before the call completed. Their weapons struck the stone, sending dark sparks into the air. They're trying to silence the beacon, the girl cried out. The man closed his eyes, pushing his mind deeper into the beacon's current. The images grew clearer. He saw a large fleet of glowing ships hidden among the clouds of another world. He saw tall figures in radiant armor preparing for something. He saw hope. He understood. They're coming, he whispered. They're real, and they're coming. The shadows screamed in rage. Their bodies struck the lake's edge, their eyes burning red. But they could go no farther. The beacon's light grew brighter, so bright the cavern turned white. The man felt the device enter its final stage. His heartbeat synced with its pulse. His chest tightened. His legs shook. But he didn't drop it. The girl watched him, trembling. You can do it. Please don't fall, please. Her small voice anchored him again. The keeper raised both hands. Finish it, human. You are almost at the end. The man lifted the beacon higher. A final burst of energy exploded outward. A beam shot upward from the cavern's ceiling, piercing through earth and stone, through the city, through the clouds, into the sky. A bright pillar, like a lighthouse for the stars. Silence followed. The beacon dimmed slowly, then returned to a soft glow. The man fell to one knee, exhausted but alive. The girl rushed to him, wrapping her arms around his arm. Human, are you okay? He gave her a tired smile. Yeah, I'm still here. A deep rumble shook the cavern. The lake rippled. The crystals vibrated. The keepers looked upward. The watchers are arriving. A glowing crack opened in the roof of the cavern. Light poured in like a sunrise. Through the opening, shapes descended. Massive armored figures with wings of pure energy, each step shaking the ground. The watchers, guardians of the ancient sanctuaries. The shadow creatures shrieked in terror. They fled into the tunnels, desperate to escape the light. The watcher leader stepped forward. His voice echoed like thunder softened by compassion. Who awakened the beacon? The man looked up, exhausted but firm. I did. The watcher studied him. A human, protecting those not your own. The little girl ran to the man's side. He saved us. He fixed the beacon. He stopped the shadows. The watcher bowed his head slightly, an honor rarely given. Then humanity holds more courage than we believed. He extended a hand toward the mother. Soft healing light spread from his palm. The woman's breathing strengthened, her color returning, her eyes opening fully for the first time. The girl cried with joy. Mom, you're okay. The man watched, relief washing over him. The watcher turned to him again. Human, you have risked everything. If you wish, you may leave now. No one will chase you again. The man looked at the girl, her mother, the sanctuary, the glowing lake, the vast cavern filled with ancient magic and danger. He shook his head. I'm staying until they're safe. The little girl hugged him tightly. The watcher smiled. Then you stand with us. Above them, more watchers descended, filling the cavern with a brilliant light that drowned out every remaining shadow. And for the first time since that cold night began, they were not running anymore. They were protected. They were home. And humanity, through one ordinary man, had earned its place among the stars.